Hello and welcome back to Drivers Keepers, the channel for passionate petrol heads who love and drive their cars.
In the last episode, we met Simon's amazing and very well used Lamborghini Murcielago. There's a description in the link below if you didn't see it. Today, we're doing my car. So, welcome back to the garage and welcome to my Ferrari 430 Spider with a manual gearbox. I'm 11 years into this relationship now, and I know 11 years might not sound like a lot to some of you guys who have been with your cars for way longer. But for me, it's quite a big deal because before this car, I was a serial car swapper. There was a 360 Spider with a paddle shift that was originally owned by Eric Clapton. There was numerous Lotuses, a 356 Porsche, some MGBs, all kinds of stuff. But this one is definitely the keeper. So, why is that? Well, I suppose initially it probably goes back to when I was very little, and sometimes when my dad would come home from work, he'd bring a little, do you remember Matchbox cars? He'd bring a little Matchbox toy car home for me. And the red pointy ones were always the prize of the collection. I never imagined that one of these would be sitting in my garage, but circumstances changed. I ended up working for myself. Things went quite well, and here we are. And I'm still so happy. It took a while to find the right car. It had to be red. It had to have cream leather. It had to be convertible, and it had to have the manual gearbox. So, when and where and how do we use it? Well, sunny afternoon trips to the pub, trips out for no reason whatsoever other than just for the joy of driving it, which it still delivers in spades. I still can't believe how excited I get at just the prospect of, yes, we're going out for a drive. We use it for owners club get-togethers, weekends away, UK holidays, European tours, and our favourite thing, driving it back to Italy. So my car in particular is a 2005, so it's one of the very early Spiders. It had little miles on it when we collected it, and it's got just over 40,000 now, so not bad. I need to try harder. I appreciate that. I'll be putting more miles on. What have I learned over 11 years of ownership? Well, the first thing is that these cars are so much better for being used. When we collected it, it hadn't been used for some time. And to be honest, it was a pain in the neck. It was forever throwing up warning lights, sensors were failing, going into limp home mode. It was a bit of a disaster. But the guy who looks after it said, just push through. It's just because it hasn't been used. So we did. We ploughed on. It took about 6 months and then it settled down. And since then, touch wood, it's been amazing. It's needed nothing but regular maintenance and parts replacing just because they've worn out because it's getting driven. Unsurprisingly, it generates quite a bit of attention. Most of it good, I'm going to say. Most of it positive. And I'm very happy if someone wanders over on a petrol forecourt to ask me a question about it, to talk to them and tell them all about it. Generates some negative comments, generates some negative hand signals, but nothing that I can't deal with. And, you know, whatever. If you don't like the car, you don't like the car. Live and let live is what I say, but each to their own. It's really comfortable. We've found driving down through France or wherever, long drives, not a problem. It's practical. It's got a big tank, big boot, or frunk, as I think some people might call it. There's good space behind the seats for storage as well. So going away for a long period of time is not an issue. And I've also learned, find yourself either a good Ferrari dealer, which in my experience, maybe they all aren't great, but I've found a good one, and or a good independent Ferrari specialist. And I've definitely found one of those. I think we'll probably do an episode in the future about the place where both I take my car and Simon takes the Murcielago. And I feel as though we're very lucky because Matt looks after our cars with as much love and attention as we would hope. So what's the overall verdict on ownership? Well, I've got to say, it's been a hugely positive experience. A little bit like Simon was saying in the video about the Murcielago. It's changed a lot of things about my life owning this car. Opened a lot of doors and given us incredible experiences and helped us to meet incredible people who we now call friends. Would I recommend it? Oh yes. Has it been expensive? Oh yeah, sometimes. Money well spent? Yeah, absolutely yes. So let's just talk very briefly about the 430 in general. If you're like us, and let's face it, you are, because you're watching this kind of channel, you probably know a lot of the facts and the figures and the stats about this car. And this channel really isn't about repeating those or trying to educate you about that information. It's there, it's all over the internet already. It's been done 1,000 times. This channel's more about how driving and owning these cars makes you feel. But very briefly, 500 brake horsepower, give or take, 200 miles an hour, give or take, not with me behind the wheel, and 0 to 60 in, I don't know, just fast. 430 originally came out in 2004, and it was designed by the legend that is Frank Stephenson during his time at Pininfarina. And I've got to say, I think the shape is aging amazingly. I think this car just looks better and better the older it gets. And it is getting old. Next year, this car will be 20 years old. It's a proper modern classic. Here we are, out and about in the 430. Typical. Didn't have the camera turned on just then. Just back there, we passed a group of about 5 or 6 teenagers, I'm going to say. 13, 14, 15. Saw the car coming. All stood to attention at the side of the road. Massive grins on their face. Made their day. I love it when this car does that. It just has an effect on people, which I fully understand, because not that long ago, I was that kid. Well, actually, no, it's a long time ago I was that kid. Sorry, we're just doing a 3-point turn, because the road ahead is freaking blocked. Anyway, yes. You know what? Even owning a Ferrari, it still makes my day when I see another one. It's a magical brand. So as I think I've mentioned, when we bought this car, it had little miles on it. And a very small part of me was quite nervous about putting miles on from a value point of view. But it's so good to drive. And as soon as I realised, I'll tell you what was the key. As soon as I realised that there was nothing I wanted more that I could afford, that this was going to be a keeper, that was the key. That was the key to unlocking this car's potential for me, and unlocking all the adventures that we've subsequently had. And if I'm not selling it, who cares what the residual value is? Not my problem. So there you go, my 430 Spider, a car that genuinely means more to me than I'm eloquent enough to put into words. I remember watching an episode of Top Gear some time ago, and Jeremy Clarkson was talking about how people like us have genuine, real emotions for the cars that we own, and that we make proper connections with them. And that's exactly how I feel about this car, which, if you're not a petrol head, I know sounds ridiculous, but I just love it.
So there we have it, another episode of Drivers Keepers. We hope you enjoyed it. Coming up, we're going to feature some fantastic, well-used supercars. Some of them, believe it or not, actually driven by some of you guys.
We hope you enjoyed the video. If you did, would you do us a favour? If you click the thumbs up button, that will help more people see the video. And if you then go on and click subscribe, that will help us to build the channel and bring you some fantastic future content. All right, we'll see you on the next one. Bye.
See ya!